I saw this. A group of similar looking ants were in the middle of a serious fight. At first it was difficult to make out as who was who. But it then became clear that two Carebara ants were being mauled down by a group of Lophomyrmex ants. And look how easily they decapitated the gaster of one of the Carebara worker. The Lophomyrmex continued to maul down the Carebara worker for a long time and then carried away its body somewhere. On witnessing such tragic fate of the Carebara workers, I felt really bad for them, and I just wished that the Carebara majors were here. But when I saw this, I soon realized that small majors will not do. Only the advantage of super majors and the massive numbers of Carebara workers will give the Carebara ants victory over these dangerous ants. True to what I had thought, I saw the Lophomyrmex ants surrounded by a swarm of Carebara ants. And as I had imagined, the Lophomyrmex ants had no chance against the angry swarm of Carebara ants. The Lophomyrmex workers were being beaten from all sides. They had nowhere to run. And yes, the majors were there too, breaking the skulls of their enemies with their big, strong jaws. The Lophomyrmex soldiers were being stressed to death in the same way in which they had earlier killed some of the Carebara workers. It looked like the Carebara ants were finally getting the opportunity to take their revenge. But as I looked around, I saw that the battle between these ants was taking place in more wider scale than what I had thought. And in places where the number of these two ants were equal, the Lophomyrmex ants were simply dominating the fight. And when I looked a little further, I saw this. The Lophomyrmex ants were in no less number than the Carebara ants. And then I saw this happening. The Carebara ants were stationed in their underground tunnel, while the Lophomyrmex ants had surrounded all the exterior of the tunnel. And these two martial species of ants were battling each other for the dominance and control of the foraging ground. While one side was occupied by the Carebara ants, the other side was swarming with the Lophomyrmex ants. And underneath, there was a great war going on. In fact, there was war going on everywhere. The Carebara majors were also actively taking part in the war. But while some of the majors were getting totally surrounded by the Lophomyrmex ants, others were limping away with their legs totally beaten off from their bodies. But this scene was the most surprising. A Carebara super major was lying dead in the battlefield, while a Carebara worker was trying to keep the Lophomyrmex ants away from the dead major. But sadly, the brave Carebara worker soon got turned into pieces. Now how can these small-sized Lophomyrmex ants win over these deadly Carebara super majors? I soon got the answer to my question. The Lophomyrmex ants just overwhelmed the Carebara major by swarming over it. There was no chance that the major could win out here. Just when the war between these two species of ants was at its peak, I saw a Tetraponera rufonigra soldier descending down towards the battlefield. But as soon as it stepped on the battlefield, it was attacked by a Lophomyrmex ant worker. The aggressive Tetraponera soldier immediately began to crush the Lophomyrmex worker with its strong jaws. Surprisingly, none of the other Lophomyrmex ants came to the rescue of their sister. In fact, they were seen running away from the Tetraponera rufonigra. However, there were one or two brave Lophomyrmex warriors who attacked the Tetraponera rufonigra soldier. And their attack made the Tetraponera soldier lose her grip and fall down into a pool of water collected below. For a moment, I thought that this was the end of the Tetraponera soldier. But the valiant ant not only pulled herself out of the watery trap, but she also started to fiercely attack every Lophomyrmex ant that came in front of her. Surprisingly, contrary to the case of the Carebara major, the Lophomyrmex ants were reluctant to attack the Tetraponera soldier. The Tetraponera soldier went on a rampage, killing, decapitating, crushing the Lophomyrmex ants present there. The Tetraponera rufonigra went around challenging the Lophomyrmex ants for quite some time. However, the Lophomyrmex ants kept on avoiding any major fight with the Tetraponera soldier. It looked like they wanted to concentrate more on their battle against the Carebara at that moment. So eventually it looked like the Tetraponera soldier lost interest in the fight, and so she climbed up the nearest grass plate and walked away from the battlefield. Meanwhile, the battle between the Carebara and the Lophomyrmex continued unstopped, and it looked like the battle was not going to stop anytime soon. It would continue on this way for many days to come. Sadly for me, after having already watched this battle for hours, the battery of my camera and the storage were both running low. So it was time for me to leave the jungle. However, after having watched the battle this far, I can conclude that the Carebara ants must have remained dominant within their earthly tunnels, and the Lophomyrmex ants that must have tried to get in must have been killed gruesomely. But outside on the higher surfaces, the Carebara were no match for the Lophomyrmex ants. The advantage of their huge numbers and the presence of supermajors was also of little help to the Carebara in this war, as it was evident that the Lophomyrmex themselves formed huge colonies consisting of thousands of members. Also, it was evident that the Lophomyrmex knew it pretty well as to how to handle the strong supermajors. So my prediction is that ultimately the Lophomyrmex ants must have overtaken the foraging ground. The Carebara ants, I think, must have moved to some other place where they would have to face much lesser competition for food. But again, my conclusion out here can be totally wrong. It may be that the Carebara never considered defeat, and on the contrary, it may be that they were able to overcome their adversaries and force them to retreat. Or even a third species may have joined the battle again and completely changed its course. One can never tell, for everything is possible in the wild world of ants. What do you think might have happened? Do let me know by leaving your comment in the comment box below. And please do subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, and do not forget to hit the bell icon. It takes a lot of effort to shoot and edit this type of videos, so your support will mean a lot to me. Thanking you in advance. Here's Ant Kingdom Asia signing off for today.